welcome to Should I Buy This Game, featuring the Grand Austria Hotel. My name is Christine, and in this video, I will give a brief description of the gameplay and then share a few things I liked and disliked about the game to help you decide if you should buy the Grand Austria Hotel. Here we have the Grand Austria Hotel, and I'm going to start with this board here. This is the main board. And at the beginning of each round, you're going to roll dice. So for 2 players, it is 10 dice that we are rolling. There's, I think, a total of 14 dice. And you put them by their number, separate them across here. So what this means is the first person takes a dice of their choice. And their choices here would be, first we have, do you want streusel and or cake? With 2 dice here, it means you can take 2 streusels or 1 streusel and 1 cake. You can never take more cake than you have streusel, so I could not take 2 cakes. Now, depending how many dice here, the number you can take will vary. So each round, it's going to be a different options for you. Now, this one is similar, except it's wine and coffee. So there's 3 dice here, so you can either take 3 wine, you can take 2 wine and 1 coffee, but you cannot take 2 coffee. You must take more wine than coffee. This one here is the number of rooms you can open on your main board in your hotel. So because there's 2 dice here, you could open 2 rooms. Here, this has to do with the Emperor track or money. So there's only 1 dice here. So you either get 1 move on the Emperor track or you get $1 or euro added to your money track. Here, this has to do with your staff cards. They all are worth a different amount. And so however many dice are here will mean how much less it costs to put them into service. So you could do this guy for free. This one would be 2. That would be 1. And then the staff cards give you different bonuses. Some are continuous, some are a one-time deal, some are end of game scoring points. So they all work a little differently. And you can choose which staff cards you want to use or don't want to use. But this dictates, if you take this, you can enter a staff card for that many less. And finally, number 6 is a special one. You pay a dollar or euro, and you can do any of these actions based on the number of dice here. So right now there's only 1 6, so you could only do get 1 thing. So here you would only be able to get 1 streusel or 1 wine, open 1 room, get 1 euro, take 1 euro off the cost of a staff, and that's it. So sometimes though you'll have a whole bunch of dice here, and then it's beneficial to use. So it all depends. A lot of times when it's your turn, you're looking here. And obviously right now, the most beneficial would be to come here because you'll get 3 of the the drinks. And so that's currently one of the most beneficial. Unless you really needed to open rooms, you might want to open 2 rooms. So it all varies depending what you need, and what is most plentiful is sort of where you're going to go first. So next we have our main board over here. And this is where we keep track of our score. There's objective cards. So the first person to get to $20, you can put your little player here. You have one of these tokens and you would put it there to claim the 15 points. And then you would move 15 points. This is the first person to close 2 rows of or columns of the hotel. And this one is the first person to get close 3 red, 3 blue, and 3 yellow rooms. And there's a bunch of these cards, and they all differ. This is the Emperor's track, and it keeps track of the rounds. And when you're on round 3, it affects this track here. So this is the round track. This is the Emperor track. So by round 3, you need to be at least in this area here. And what's going to happen is if you are there, you get a bonus. If you're not, you get a penalty, and then you move back 3. So every time you move forward, you're going to move back. Then you have to get back up to 5 by the time we get here, and then you move back 5. Then you have to get to 7, and then you move back. So It's good if you can move across this track. You have to pay attention to it. Otherwise, you can be losing points. You can be losing goods, money. But at the same time, if you do it, you're gaining money, goods, and points. So it's important to keep track of your emperor track. Here we have the guests. And these are guests you're picking to go into your cafe. And if you get these, you have to pay $3, $2, or $1. But the 2 at the end are always up for grabs for free. And what you're looking at really here is what does it cost to get them, like feed them at your cafe and then get them into your hotel. The next thing would be how many points do you get for doing it and what is the bonus? And depending on the color of the guests will depend what color room they want to move into in your hotel. There's also a green guest, and those are tourists, and they will sleep anywhere. So those are our guests. So we move down to our personal player boards, and we start with 3 hotel rooms that are open, a guest, $10, and 1 of each of the food goods. And when you're picking a starting guest, you want somebody that you know you'll be able to fulfill. So that one only has 1 wine. We already own that. So we know we'll be able to get him into the hotel room fairly quickly to get a new guest. At the beginning of each of your turns, you are allowed to get a new guest if you have room in your cafe. And so you're working on feeding your guests, moving them into the hotel, and repeat. Getting more guests and moving them into the hotel, all for points. Now here you get bonus points. So you'll notice there's like 2 blue here. That would be a section. And if you complete 2 blue, you're going to get 5 points. Whereas when you move, if you complete a red section, like the 2 red, you're going to get $3. And if you complete a yellow section, you're going to get points along the emperor's track. So there's a lot of things going on. It's a really fun game, and you're just moving along. And with the player board over here, with these dice, it really dictates some of the choices you're going to make. You might really be wishing for food, but if 5 dice end up somewhere else, you're like, no, I'm going to take advantage of that, especially say if it's here, I'm going to get either emperor points or dollars. And then some of the staff cards also affect it here. Some of them, there's one card that if you take it from here, you'll get both the points and the dollars. So depending on the staff cards you have too, could change up how you play. So now I'm going to show you how a turn works. The first thing you want to do is pick a guest. So we'll pick this guy because he is free. And we're going to move him into our cafe. So we look at what they need, and I already have everything they need to fulfill. But let's go look to see what my options are. And getting those 3 dice there with the wine and coffee, I think it's very appealing. So you take the dice you want, and you put it on your turn order. And this allows me to get 2 wine and a coffee. Now I can put them directly onto the cards for free. I can put this wine here. And the rest will go into the kitchen. Now I want to fulfill my guests, so I have to pay €1. And with that, I'm allowed to take 3 items from my kitchen. I only need 2. I need a streusel and a cake. And now both of my guests are fulfilled. So that goes back to the stash. So now this guest, the bonus is 4 points, and I get 2 more staff cards from the deck into my hand. So for that, I would just take the top 2 cards and just put them into my staff deck. And I'll get my points in a moment. This one allows me to get a new guest and for no money. So when we come back over to the track, I can collect any of the guests. So I think I will take her. So I don't have to pay the €2 involved with it. And she will be a new guest in my hotel. Now this guest was worth 0 points. So we're going to put them into the room. So the red guest will want to go into the red room. And we just turn it around, and that means that room is full. And I put the card aside. And the green guest will go anywhere. So I'm going to put the green guest in the blue room. Now that little block is done. So we look up here for blue 1, I get 2 points. Plus my guest was worth 4 points. So we go up to this track and I'm going to get 6 points on the track. And now we would move all these cards down and prepare it for the next player to take their turn. So now I'm going to talk about some things we like and dislike about the game. And first off, we really like this dice mechanism. So I'm going to re-roll it just to show you how it can change up. So you just sort of roll it and now I'm seeing a lot of 5s. So I'm going to lay these out to show you how now suddenly in this round, you can't get any wine or coffee unless you go over here. Because now these 6s, because there's 3 of them, it's a lot more, spending the $1 isn't as bad because you get 3 of whatever. So if you want that wine and coffee, you'll have to go the 6 route. Here, you can get €3 off a staff. So this would be a good time to get a staff card into play. And then here, it's getting 3 of the streusel and cakes. So as you can tell by each roll, it's really going to change up what you can do and and deciding how this works into your game. So we really like that mechanism. We also really like the theme of picking the guest, it being in the cafe, moving it into the hotel. It works really well through all that. And then one other really great thing is that all of the cards are numbered. And so in the book, they have all the numbers and it will tell you exactly what they all mean. So if you get confused by some of the symbols on the cards, you can always just look it up and it will tell you exactly what every single card bonus is. So we really like that they've included that. Now, a couple challenges to the game. Because of this mechanism here that you have to take more streusel than cakes and that, some of the cards, such as this one, where you have 2 cakes and 1 coffee, can be very challenging. Because of that, you are getting more points and some money. But because you'd have to take all that wine before you even get 1 coffee and the streusel or that, it can be challenging if you have a card that needs those 2 goods. And the other thing we find is the Emperor's Track. When we're choosing what we want to do, we never want to do the Emperor's Track until you realize, oh my goodness, we're almost there. And you have to make sure you're picking this card that allows you to move or finding any bonuses anywhere where you can move along the track. Because otherwise you can get dinged pretty bad on money and points and goods. And so we just find, for us, the Emperor's Track is sort of at the bottom of our list until we realize, yikes, we have to go and move before we get dinged. So those would be like the 2 challenges of the game. But overall, we love playing this game. There's a new expansion called Let's Waltz. And we can't wait to start playing with some of the modules from that expansion and to add it to the game and see how it all plays. So let me know in the comments if you've played the Grand Austria Hotel and what you think of the game.